Hey, boys and girls, Todd Vandermeide back again for another round of Freedom Steel, former NRA contract lobbyist and Illinois gun law guru. So let's dive into the features test on shotguns because, like we showed with the 1022, the state is not getting the broadness of the ban that they passed. So if you go to the bill, or the law, as I should say, Public Act 102-1116, scroll down into section 24-1.9 and into subsection F, it says a semi-automatic shotgun that has one or more of the following. And if you scroll down to number 5 in the shotgun features test, a fixed magazine with the capacity of more than 5 rounds. Okay, let's look at this. Fixed magazine, which means it's not like a pistol mag or a rifle mag that you drop in and out of the firearm that you replace. No, fixed magazine looks like this. Here we go. This is a Remington 1187 receiver. This is the fixed magazine here. This magazine does not come out. Matter of fact, as I look at this, it appears that it is silver soldered into the receiver, making it permanently fixed in the gun. The magazine is part of the gun. And because of that, that creates a whole new problem. And what is that new problem? That new problem is that these magazines can be modified for their capacity. Typically, on a tubular magazine like this, you have extensions. They look like this. They come in varying sizes. They come from 1-round extensions to 9-round extensions. And all they do is literally you remove the end cap off of your shotgun tube and you screw on right here. That's it. Couple of simple twists and you now have an extended magazine that will hold far more than 5 rounds. And under this specifically enumerated features test, it is 5 rounds for a semi-auto shotgun. So let's take a look at the magazine portion of the law, section 24.1.10, because that now plays a additional role in how we look at this. So as we scroll down here to section 5/24-1.10, this is the magazine portion of the law. See, they separated the mags from the guns for penalties, definitions, and all that stuff. And that gets to be a big thing. So here, long gun means a rifle or shotgun. 1. Magazine, belt, drum, feed strip, or other similar device that has the capacity of or that can be readily restored to or converted to accept more than 10 rounds of ammunition for a long gun. All right. But guys, you'll say, Todd, they don't say tubular magazines. Well, that's where other similar device rolls in. And I would point out in the exemptions below, let's scroll up here, large capacity ammunition feeding device does not include an attached tubular device designed to accept and capable of operating only with 22 caliber rimfire ammunition. One exemption. Next is large capacity ammunition feeding device does not include a tubular magazine that is contained in a lever action firearm or any device that has been made permanently inoperable. So here, they clearly show that they meant to cover tubular magazines because they made an exemption for 22 caliber feeding devices and they made an exemption for ones attached to lever guns. Why is that? Well, many years ago, we were having this very debate about a magazine ban. And they said anything holds more than 10 rounds. Okay, well, go look at your Henrys, go look at your Winchesters, go look at your Ubertis and your modern replicas of the old firearms and all these lever guns. And these lever guns and pistol calibers like 38, 44-40, whatever, held more than 10 rounds. And the magazine, as a tubular magazine, was attached to the firearm. It wasn't separate like your mag for your Glock or your mag for your AR or whatever. It was attached to the gun. And by virtue of that magazine being attached to the gun, it prohibited those guns. So while they thought they had a magazine ban on their hands, they were actually banning all those firearms that used tubular feeding magazines. And they didn't have exemptions for 22s back at the time. So what did they do? They wrote in exemptions so that wouldn't be a gun ban for those types of guns. Now, let's look at this on its face. So any 22 tubular magazine is exempt. So your Rossi Gallery guns, those pump action guns, your Marlin 60, the semi-auto with a tubular magazine, your Henry lever guns, those are exempt. The Henrys, the Winchesters, in whatever caliber, and any 22 that uses a tubular magazine, whether it's the old nylon 66s that loaded through the butt, whether it's the gallery guns that look like a traditional one, whether it's a lever gun, whether it's a semi-auto, the magazine capacity on those 22s does not apply. That 10-round limit does not apply. Notice that it's 22 specific for rimfire. It doesn't exempt 17, which is a whole nother issue. And, you know, we'll get into that a little bit later. So this sets up an interesting dichotomy because they sit here and say 10 rounds for long guns. But in section 1.9, they are very specific that it's 5 rounds for semi-auto shotguns. So knowing that that was specifically enumerated, it's my opinion that we have to go by the 5-round limit for shotguns. 5 rounds for a semi-auto shotgun. That's the limitation. Well, but the language that's going to be super critical here is has the capacity of or can be readily restored or converted to accept more than. And while it's 10 rounds in this section, I think that you carry that readily converted language forward, and that creates a problem. So let's look at Remington 1100. She's empty. Typical shorter. It's not an 18-inch. It's a 20-something inch barrel. Kind of a self-defense model. But let's talk about this. So here it is, standard magazine. Holds 5 rounds of 2 3/4 inch ammo normally. Just like this. Readily converted to, right? So how easy is it, Todd? Well, let's just unscrew this cap here, like I described earlier. Not have this spring come flying out all over the place. Cap goes off to the side. Spring comes out. New spring goes in. Magazine exemption goes on like this. Screws on. We now have a semi-auto shotgun that holds more than 5 rounds. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. And they make a whole bunch of these coming out of the factory. Everybody makes guns like this. Whether it's the Remington 1100, the 1187, if it's the Benelli Super Black Eagles, if it's the Beretta 391 series, Stoger, you name it. They're out there. And you can get these tube extensions for up to 9 additional rounds. So typical shotgun, 5 rounds. Add 9, we're at 14. Well above the 10-round limit here. Even above the 5-round limit for a semi-auto shotgun. And again, these are all fixed magazines that are permanently attached to the gun. And so just to show you how easy this is, generally speaking, so that was one version of a Remington 11. Remington 1187 uses same kind of threads, same kind of magazine system. So here we go. Cap comes off. This one has a slate plug at the end that we need to depress. And with the screwdriver, she comes out. Spring comes out. New spring goes in. Extended magazine tube goes on. Voila. Turkey gun. Now extended magazine holds more than 5 rounds on a semi-auto gun. Now on some of these, they may have a couple of detents in the tube that have to be swaged out. You're adding 5 more minutes, whether I swage them out or I sit there and drill them out. You're adding nothing more than 5 minutes to what I just showed you. And when given, you look at ATF's consideration on what they consider to be readily converted, either under the machine gun statutes or under their 80%er rule or any of that. I mean, I've just done it here. This video is now running just over 12 minutes, and that's with my narrations on stuff. So obviously, these are readily converted too. And the issue that really gets in there, in my opinion, since the magazines are fixed to the receiver. It's not like you can get a Glock 19 and sell it, if we had to, sell it with a 10-round magazine like California does. You know, unless you permanently weld some sort of plug or pin in there to where the average gun owner can't do what I just did, I think that because those magazines are readily converted to hold more than 5 on semi-autos, or even if you want to accept the 10-round limit, that they are readily converted to. And here, we'll pop a picture up here. These are the tubular extensions that you can find on the internet just with a simple Google search. Since those magazines are readily restorable or converted to accept more than X number of rounds. And you're only limited by the spring you can manufacture and the length of the barrel and all that kind of stuff. I think it makes these guns illegal for sale. I think it makes the Remington 1100, the 1187, the Benelli Super Black Eagle, Winchester Super X series, I think this bill, because of the way it is drafted with that language and those magazines being permanently affixed, it makes them illegal for sale. Because those guns can be converted into a semi-auto assault shotgun per the language. So you look at this. I mean, going back to the early 1900s, the original Browning A5 was designated the Remington 11. There are 850,000 of those shotguns manufactured. As John Moses Browning went on with the Browning A5, there were another 3 million Browning A5s manufactured. Up until Remington changed over to the 1187, there were 4 million 1100s manufactured in this country. And we don't see numbers on the 1187s, but you're knocking on what? 30 plus years of the 1187? How many of those do you think they've manufactured over here? So when the state wants to talk about in common use, we're here to point out how broad their ban is. Yeah, they didn't include these in their illustrations because they don't know what they're talking about. And that's why when we argued about the lever guns over a decade ago, they had to modify their decision. Their amendment back then, 10 plus years ago, and it was done by Senator Michael Nolan, Democrat out of Elgin, who's now a sitting state court judge up there, proves that we were right then and we're right today. So as always, guys, we've broken 7,000 subscribers. Thank you very much. Hope you find all this interesting. We're going to have a bunch of videos like this about the nuances of the features test coming out all week long. We really appreciate your subscriptions, your likes, all that. You're helping push the channel up higher and higher, and that's evidence because now we're seeing more trolls show up in the comments. But thanks always. Like, copy, paste, share this around, and as always, frag out.